A reading from the book of Sirach. If you choose, you can keep the commandments. They will save you. If you trust in God, you too shall live. He has set before you fire and water. To whichever you choose, stretch forth your hand. Before man are life and death, good and evil. Whichever he chooses will be given him. Immense is the wisdom of the Lord. He is mighty in power and all-seeing. The eyes of God are on those who fear him. He understands man's every deed. No one does he command to act unjustly. To none does he give the license to sin. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, we speak a wisdom to those who are mature, not a wisdom of this age, nor of the rulers of this age who are passing away. Rather, we speak God's wisdom, mysterious, hidden, which God predetermined before the ages for our glory, and which none of the rulers of this age knew, or if they had known, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But as it is written, what eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, and what has not entered the human heart, what God has prepared for those who love him. This God has revealed to us through the Spirit. For the Spirit scrutinizes everything, even the depths of God. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, I tell you, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. You have heard it said to your ancestors, you shall not kill, and whoever kills will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, whoever is angry with your brother will be liable to judgment. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you, anyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Again, you have heard that it was said to your ancestors, do not take a false oath, but make good to the Lord all you vow. But I say to you, do not swear at all. Let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. Anything more is from the evil one. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Eyes have not seen, ears not heard, what God has promised for those who love God. Spirit of God, come give us the mind of Jesus. Teach us the wisdom of God. Let's sing that one more time and suck that into your heart, okay? Let that enter your heart. Let's sing it again, choir. Thank you. Eyes have not seen. God is ready for those who love God. Spirit of God, come give us the mind of Jesus. Teach us the wisdom of God. Spirit of love, Spirit of God, come give us the mind of Jesus. Give us the mindset of Jesus. Give us the culture of Jesus. Give us the kind of relationship, the new relationship. We live in that time when we should be living the new relationship, not the old relationship. We should graduate from the old relationship, from the old covenant. We shouldn't get stuck with the old covenant, but move out of the old covenant to the new covenant, to the New Testament, to the new arrangement, to the new relationship, how we should relate with God and with one another, how you relate with your spouse, how you relate with your children, how you relate with your co-workers, how you relate with people in your church. All these things must be done with the culture of Jesus. Not the culture in the old way, because in the old way, the culture there did not give life. In the old way, if you knock me, I knock you. That's the old way. That's the old relationship. And it was just fair. In the old relationship, you do something to me, I do it back to you. It's just fair. In the old relationship, you kill, you are killed too. In the old relationship, when you don't feel like going to church, someone dragged you to church. Okay? Yeah, someone called you in bed, honey, let's go to church. And honey doesn't want to go to church today, but honey got to go to church. Someone dragged you to church. That is the old way is elementary. It's the beginning. It's childish. Nothing against children, okay? Nothing against children. Childlike is okay, but childishness is like the child cannot make up their minds. They can't make up their minds, so they have to be dragged to church. They have to be brought there, okay? But when you're matured and you can make that decision, you have that mindset of Jesus, you let it come from you, that you're willing to go, to choose. You're willing to choose. Like the first reading says, God makes you in a way to be able to choose. Choose for life, that you can make that mindset. That is what Jesus encourages us to do today, and what that mindset is. What is the Christian mindset? What is the Christian culture? There are a lot of people today who get stuck with everything that is written in the Old Testament. They read the Old Testament and they're stuck. They're like, oh, my goodness, that's not what I want. You look at the Old Testament about violence and all kinds of things in the Old Testament, and they're like shaky. This is not what I want in my Bible. But today Jesus tells us you don't have to get stuck to that. Move on. You got to move on. You got to grow. Because what is in the Old Testament grows into the New Testament. In the New Testament, it's totally different. It's a deeper, an explanation. It's a meaningful thing. It's an intentional thing. It's a loving thing. A loving thing. So we should not stay same old, same old. So the topic that I want you to take home today, what Jesus is effectively telling us today is grow up. Grow up. Last Monday, the men got together and had what you call the men's spirituality, men of faith spirituality team. Got a lot of men, over 80 men were gathered last Monday, singing praises to God and listening to God's word and listening to some of my I won't mention that, but it was a beautiful time. But the topic itself made it all say, manning up to your faith. It's like growing up to your faith. Grow up. And Jesus invites us to grow up in our thinking because we have grown up. Physically, we have grown up. The things that we learned, our idea about God when we were 8, 9, 10 years old should not stay the same. Our relation, the way we related with people, the way we related with God, should not be the same. It must move on. It must grow. It has an elementary level. They gave it to us in those days when we were little. They gave it to us in the way that we can understand, in the way that we can keep. They didn't go into details. They gave us just the headlines. Just the headlines. And the headline is black and white. It's the cookie cutter stuff. It's like, do this and do that and do that. And we were given obligations. It's easy to keep obligations. It's easy to say, somebody says, tell me in black and white what I should do. But when you grow up, no one should tell you what you should do. When you grow up, you make that decision from within. And that is Christian culture. And so Jesus gives us that today. I want us to look at not just the content of what Jesus said today. The contents are adultery and all that. Don't look at that today. I want you to look at how he did it, how he delivered the message today. That how will help us to understand everything he was saying in there to us. So how did he do it? He said, you have heard it was said to your ancestors. That's the old way. The old way is that it was said to your ancestors. Then he goes on to say, but I say to you. It was said, but I say to you. You see the difference there? The old way was a... The Bible is very brilliant, okay? Just that way alone makes it for us. It was said, when people want to get away with crime, when people want to be dishonest and they want to be irresponsible, they say things like, they cast things in the passive voice. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made. Who made them? No. Mistakes were made. We don't know who made them. That's irresponsible. That is irresponsible. That is dishonest. Move from that. Move from the old way. In the past, you were told, it was said to your ancestors, you shall not kill. But I say to you, it's an active voice, not passive voice. Jesus said, I say to you. Who said it? I said it. I am responsible. That style is an active voice. So move from passivity to activity. The Christian way is an action. It's something that is deliberate, something that is intentional, something that you thought about from your heart and mind and you delivered. Something that you chose to do. not what was told you. In the past, that to kill is just physically to kill somebody. But now, I want you to go deeper into that. That killing is not just doing away with physically somebody's body, physically, but you can also kill spiritually. You can character assassinate somebody. When you label somebody with a name, when you cast somebody in a particular way that the person cannot even go to public anymore, you have killed that person. Killing, it goes down into the way we think about people, the way we think about individuals, the names we give to people. You can kill somebody like that. So, do not just stay in the physical, in the old way. Move on. Grow up. Let your understanding of God, it's not bad. The old way is not bad, but it's too elementary. It's too simple. They are tweets. Don't live on tweets. Study. Go on. Pick it apart and understand. And that is why our church is on the right path. When we chose that goal, we said, we want to be a meaningful community. You do things with meaning, not like a robot. The old way is like a robot. I'm doing it because I'm told. Well, I'm going to church because you were dragged to church. Or Father Kwame is going to know you don't go to church. Well, in the old way, you were dragged to church. In the new way, you drag somebody else to church. In the old way, they told you 10%. You give 10% to the church. That feels like a tax. And you are like, ooh, 10%. Ooh. In the new way, you come to think about it yourself. You look at how God has blessed you and think about it and say, I can give something to the church to help the church. And let it come from your heart. Let it come from here. It might be 2%, it might be 3%, it might be 20%. If you look into the New Testament, there is no place you don't hear the word 10%. Not in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, yes, they were told that because they were knuckleheads who will run with anything, any small loophole, they will seize the loophole. So God dealt with them black and white. You give 10%. So they can't run away from it. But in a new arrangement, you as a mature Christian sits up and says, I want to give to the church. And it can be 100%. I'll be happy. I don't want you to give me 100%. But you know that the church needs your time, talents, and treasure. And make it generous. To be generous to God as God has been generous to you. And you make that offering. If you give 1%, I will be a little disappointed, but that's okay. But it comes from your heart. I'll see you in the confessional. But it is intentional. We are calling, the Christian life is not that old way of arrangement. So, brothers and sisters, it is about growing, making sure that we are growing. We are not living Christianity in a way that it feels like it's being forced on us. No. Really find out whether you are gaining something out of your Christianity and intentionally live your life as a Christian in your family, among your friends, in your work, in the work that you do, that you make sure that your Christianity transforms into the work that you do, that it helps you to be able to make a good vote in your nation, be a good citizen, and all these things that you are able to live these things intentionally in our lives. This is what Jesus says and summarizes and says, let your righteousness go beyond the Pharisees and the scribes. May God bless us that we are able to translate our Christianity into action. Amen.
Amen.